To be an African-American man to write for a white newspaper in the 1920s in the South was a pretty big deal. But to do so at almost 80 years old and have formerly been a slave, well, that is newsworthy. This is the history of Jeffery Wilson. To many Portsmouth residents, Jeffery Wilson, or J-Dub, as some refer to it as, was one of Portsmouth's many housing projects that, much like Ida Barber, have since been torn down and replaced with a new housing complex, Seaboard Square. But Portsmouth, Virginia history remembers Jeffery Wilson as the only black writer to have a column and write specifically for African American readers for the Portsmouth Star newspaper, which was written for white audiences. Jeffery Thomas Wilson was born a slave in Portsmouth, Virginia on May 10, 1943. It is not known when his family moved to Norfolk, but according to his diary, at the age of 10, he was taken from his mother, Mary Taylor, and stepfather, Robert Wilson, by their slave owners, Charles and Eliza Grice, to work for them. As time progressed, Wilson would secretly learn to read and write, and in 1862, while still a slave, would become the body servant of Alexander P. Grice, most likely the son of his owner who was a soldier for the Virginia Infantry during the Civil War. Once Wilson was freed in 1866, he joined the Navy, where he was able to travel to Europe. When he returned to Portsmouth, Virginia, Wilson lived in the house he inherited from his mother and worked as a bailiff for the Norfolk court system. In 1924, at age 83, he was approached by Norman R. Hamilton, the publisher of the Portsmouth Star newspaper, to write colored notes. Now, this was a column for the black Portsmouth residents. Wilson's column was the go-to for what was happening in the black community in Portsmouth, Virginia. He wrote about church and social events, as well as news of births, anniversaries, and even funerals. And Wilson was not shy to talk about racial and social issues on the state and national level, and even locally. He served dutifully at his church, Emmanuel AME, also located in Portsmouth, Virginia, and wrote for the column up until his death in 1929. So this Black History Month, with this video, I salute Mr. Jeffery Thomas Wilson, who served his community well with writings that not only kept his community connected, but also informed.